everyone, and welcome to episode 47 of BucsUK TV. It's Victory Week, and that's always a good thing. I'm joined this week by regulars Marianna and Gary. Hello.
Hello.
And we have newcomer to the screen, but long-time Bucs fan and member of the BucsUK. It's our very own Paralympian Scott McCown. Hello.
Hi, guys.
We are absolutely delighted to have you with us. For those of you that maybe weren't reading our tweets when we were supporting you, tell us a little bit about yourself, how you became a Bucs fan, and why you are just so amazing.
Well, after that intro, I'm going to have to try and live up to it now. But so I'm Scott McCown. I've been a Bucs fan since I was about 11 or 12, and I'm an athlete in the sport of boccia, which is a Paralympic sport, a bit like bowls or pétanque. It's played with leather balls indoor, and I'm in a category where we don't have the ability to throw the balls. We roll them down a chute or a ramp, and we have an assistant that operates the ramp. So I've been playing that now for 15 years or so, and have in that time managed to make it to a few various exotic places, including 3 Paralympic Games. So it's been a fun career, and I've been following the Bucs, as I say, since I was a kid, mainly because my father's friend from school, he moved his family out to Sarasota in Florida about 25 years ago now, and we used to go out to visit him on many family holidays out there. And one year we were there, he bought me my first Bucs top. I'd never really even heard of the sport, to be honest, and thought, well, I went to the bother, buy me one of these, I better check it out, which coincided with the year we won the Super Bowl. So at that point as a kid, I thought it was always going to be like this, and obviously we've been long suffering up until the joy of last year. So that was me pretty much. I started with that, and then as the years went on, became more and more engrossed in the sport.
Now, is it fair to say that you've got a sibling rivalry that puts the Manning brothers to shame?
Well, it's safe to say that we're very competitive, and obviously during the lockdown that elevated itself because we were basically confined to the living room of our house. So I had to play my brother, who's 4 years younger than myself, and we're in the same category. So we had like living room battles twice a week during the lockdown, which were pretty heated, and even worse because it was really the only thing that we had to do for the week. So
and nowhere to escape when you lost.
Yeah, it was horrendous. And the worst part was having to update the WhatsApp group within the squad to tell everybody what had happened, because obviously nobody else was playing anybody because they were living obviously apart. So yeah, we are super competitive when it comes to really anything, but it also, I'd say, makes us better players because we have that to bounce off each other.
Is he an NFL fan?
He's, I'd say, a casual fan. So we went down to see the Steelers-Vikings in 2013 at Wembley, and he does enjoy watching live matches. Went to a college game as well in Florida a few years back. So he does watch it now and again, but he's not anywhere near as committed to the cause as myself, and doesn't really have a team.
Fantastic. Well, I think without any further ado, we need to get on. Normally we're picking over the remains of what went wrong, but this week we're going to be talking about everything that went right. Of course, I mean the Bucs' resounding victory against the Miami Dolphins. So, Gary, if we start with you first, just, am I glossing over it? Was it really perfection?
I think it was perfection, as close as realistically you're ever going to get it. I mean, you're never going to get a perfect game, are you, where every catch is caught and every run is 10 yards and every touchdown is meant to be a touchdown, but it's as close as you're going to get. I've jotted down a few facts here. 558 yards, which is the 4th best in franchise history. 45 points, that's the 7th best. 33 first downs, that's the best they've ever done in a non-overtime game. and they were 8 of 11 on third down. That's the second best percentage. I mean, it doesn't really get any better than that, does it?
Scott, how are you feeling after the game? You know, it was nice in a way that we didn't have to go straight to bed, because I don't know about you, but I was still buzzing.
Yeah, it was pretty exciting, wasn't it? I felt like I was confident it was going to come from the beginning of the game. It just felt like once we finally sorted out what was going on in defense, particularly in the secondary, we kind of settled down a bit, and it just felt like at some point they were going to struggle to live with us, and that eventually came true. And I think it's just at the moment, I mean, you've heard all the commentators speaking about it as well, but it's like when we get going, there's too many men to cover, and it just becomes impossible for them to deal with it, whether they go zone or whether they go man. It's just like either way, it's pick your poison, and it's at the moment they're just unstoppable.
And I think Marianna, Scott's got it right there. And actually, at the beginning of the game, I don't know about you, but actually, it felt uncomfortably close for a while, and then the Bucs just sort of glided away, didn't they? I mean, what do you think? What was the change of gear? What happened to make the game from close to not close?
Half time, I think. Yeah, certainly. I think like the early few plays, there was that first play that was like a sort of semi-deep throw that we immediately challenged, that he just that the Dolphins player had reeled in, and it just felt like, ooh, you know, our secondary issues. And so I think there was a little bit of concern, but I just think as the sort of day went on, as the game went on, we just, I guess, with the confidence of having Brady sort of there and that we can score more than you thing, it was like it almost didn't matter. You felt like the Dolphins could have come back and scored 3 or 4, and Brady probably would have thrown up another. So it was one of those where you just felt like he was going to keep throwing another touchdown.
The only people throwing up, of course, were the Miami Dolphins defensive backs after that 5-touchdown thrashing. So we mentioned the B word, Brady. Let's talk about the offense first of all. Maybe Scott, what obviously, you know, it's easy to point towards Brady and go, you know, gajillion yards, a gajillion touchdowns, but it is a team sport. Who most impressed you on offense?
I mean, I think it's hard to kind of settle on one player, but it just seems like you have to give credit to the O-line, because it's just like at the moment he's just getting so much time to pick his spot. And I think we know that he gets the ball out quick anyway, but I just think it really, really helps at the moment to have that extra time that, you know, a great player like Brady, if he has that, he's just, you know, literally unstoppable. So I would say probably have to give credit to those guys. And I think obviously last year we were in and out with injuries, but to have them settled from the beginning, you're really seeing that come into fruition. I think even though Gronk was obviously missing, it's like the guys coming in, Howard and Brett, you know, they're doing a great job as well. But for me, I would say the O-line.
I think that's a very, very good call. Marianna, would you say praise the O-line the best, or would your MVP trophy go elsewhere?
I think you have to give it to our swathe of wide receivers, really, don't you? When you've got AB catching 2 and Evans catching 2, you know, touchdowns, both of them over 100-yard games. You can't really. And then even some little performances, you know, Johnson came in, caught one late on as well. So it's nice to see, you know, and you know, I don't know, you feel like Brady can go and throw it to anyone, and we, you know, not forgetting Godwin. How can I forget him as well? So, you know, that cast of wide receivers we've got just prove themselves week in, week out, and it's a different guy that steps up each game. In this game, it was all of them. Fun enough, it just felt like every one of them.
Absolutely, and you've mentioned the people that weren't there as well, and it felt like Brady finally got over the Gronkowski hump of you know, of worrying about his safety blanket not being there. I mean, Gary, Marianna describes it as pick your poison, but I think, you know, let's talk a little bit about the ground game, because I think that's probably noteworthy as well, wasn't it?
I think the whole performance, to be honest, it was a real good team performance. And the ground game, yeah, Fournette was really, really come up trumps the last couple of weeks. So much so that Rojo's barely getting a look in. I mean, Fournette was fantastic again. We're going to have to come up with a new name for him. Regular season Lenny is a bit sort of long-winded, isn't it?
Yeah.
one of the keys is that we're not turning the ball over. The running backs, the receivers are hanging on to it. Brady's throwing it to the guys in the Buccaneer shirts and not the opposition shirts. He's got 203 passes now consecutive without an interception, which is a team record.
Wow. Don't jinx it. Don't jinx it. We believe in you, Tom.
Yeah, exactly. I hope I haven't jinxed it.
Well, speaking of interceptions, can I notice a few Post-it notes in the background there, Gary?
You can. Up on the Jameis shirt, yes, there's 3 Post-it notes.
That's Interception Watch. It's live. Check back for the 24-hour webcam. We'll be putting them up there as they happen.
I hope there's, after the Saints game on the 31st, I hope there's another 4 or 5 up there.
It's going to be, I think, we were all eagerly awaiting, the Super Bowl, as in the Patriots versus the Bucs. But I think the Saints versus the Bucs, like you say, is going to be a very interesting one. But let's not look too far ahead. On the defensive side, Scott, for me, my biggest worry of the day was when Levante David went down. But what was your overall take on the D?
Yeah, I mean, that was obviously a major concern. But I think, I don't know, I feel less critical at the moment because I just feel like with the injuries, it's just always going to be difficult. I mean, obviously getting Sherman in helps, but we know he's not the same Sherman that he was a few years ago. The pace is not quite there anymore, and it's kind of a stopgap, really. But I think we're doing okay. I think it's obviously that front seven's the best in the league. So we obviously we're going to rely on that. But I think that we just have to give it time. Winfield looks to be back soon. And I think the other guys are going to come back within a few weeks also, hopefully. So I think we just have to try and wait it out just now. But I think once they settle down that first quarter, maybe second quarter to some extent, but I think after that they kind of got into their stride. But I think it helps that, when the defense are coming on for Miami and they know they've got to try and stop, because once we get ahead, it's so difficult for Miami to try and keep up. So there's a pressure on that right away, the Miami offense when they come on. So I feel like that probably helps us a bit, but I think we just have to give it time.
Yeah, I think you're right. And there was that sort of fourth down moment where I don't know whether they were just going to try and draw us off or were they really going to go. But you're right. They knew, there's only so many possessions they could have where they couldn't score. And I mean, Marianna, last week, the team last week was like, we've got to make sure we get to Jacoby, and it's all going to be about Waddle. And Waddle barely hit the stat line, did he?
Yeah, I mean, I think
it was 3 catches, something, not many.
It wasn't a huge amount. I mean, I'd like to say that Cockrell, I think, has really stepped up in the absence of some of the some of our other players. It's nice to see someone that kind of is more of a depth player really step up and kind of actually look to make improvements on his game. And maybe that is just playing more regularly and getting more snaps, and that he's seeing more things that he wasn't seeing before, more practice with the first squad, and also perhaps having Sherman there as someone that he can turn to and ask questions of. So I think he really stepped up his game, and I thought, again, kind of our pass rush was half there. We got through a couple of times. Shaq Barrett got through. So, I think considering the injuries that we've got, again, you can't be too upset with the defensive performance. It felt like it was going to be a bigger score for the Dolphins than it ended up being, but they just kind of stopped scoring after the sort of start of the second half.
Yeah, and Gary, Marianna talks about that pass rush. I mean, how effective do you think it was?
I think it was pretty good, but Arians made the point afterwards, didn't he? That we got there, but we didn't finish it off. We had him on the ground. I mean, he's a big, strong guy. The QB, he sort of ducked out 3, 4, 5 times where, quite frankly, we should have put him on his backside, and we didn't. And that might hurt us in the Eagles game, to be honest, if we don't finish it. The one thing I would say about the defense is, we're all super critical of it. But last week and this week, we've held the opposition to 17 points. If you do that, you're going to win most games. So, long may it continue.
I think you're right. And there's a good adage: you can only play the players that are opposite you. So good team, bad team. On the day, they did what they needed to do. So I think you're absolutely right. Which brings us to this strange situation where we'd normally talk about magic wand moments, wouldn't we? But let's talk about special teams. But start thinking about that magic wand, because I'm not sure we need it this week. But maybe that's just arrogance on my part. But so special teams, Scott. Looking around the league, it was not the week to be a kicker. But I think the Bucs did all right, didn't they?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, it's just so refreshing to have a good kicker, and I think it's amazing how quickly you begin to take it for granted again after so many years of struggling in that department. But I think I'm sure I read that we only punted it once, was in the whole game. So I think it's easy to look good on special teams when you're only having to do it once. But it's just so solid at the moment. It's that old thing where if you're not talking about it, then that's good, and that seems to be the way it is at the moment.
I think you're right. Bradley Pinion was so bored they brought him out for a field goal, didn't they, Gary?
They absolutely did, and that's another take on the offense, particularly that we got the ball back with 34 seconds left in the half, and you're disappointed that we didn't score.
It's true, actually. So dangerous normally, yes.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I'd have loved to have seen that field goal go over, especially as the commentary team said it was up, and it was obviously Pinion.
Yes. The spotters weren't doing their work.
It would have been fantastic if he'd have made it, but hey-ho, you can't win them all. Special teams overall, I mean, you can't fault them. They did their job. There's no big returns. Mind you, we didn't get any big returns either, but we never do. But every kick, so what more could you want?
It's true. And Marianne, so Gary mentioned the returns. That's, is this Mickens versus Darden thing going to keep rumbling, or is it just a bit of a non-issue?
I think isn't Darden, wasn't he on the injured list for this week?
Yeah.
I think he was. So I'm still in the Darden camp at the moment, just based off of some of what he'd done in college. So at the moment, I'm fully in the Darden camp. I think Mickens has had a go, and I don't see anything exciting. I'm not saying he's a bad receiver, because he does a job, but has he done anything exciting in terms of returning? Not really. So I really want Darden to have a go when he gets back. But as the others have said, really on special teams, we're kind of really picking at like little things here, because there's not really a lot to sort of criticize or comment on. It was just a solid game. They did the job.
So this is the magic one. Then is more the keyhole surgery end of the magic performance spectrum. Then, so with your magic toothpick, where are you gonna wave that?
Oh, that's easy for me. It's magic toothpick is waved on Levante David.
So that's the toothpick
straight onto him. There we go.
Brilliant. Okay, well, we're hoping. And Scott, where would your emphasis be for the week ahead to try and get better?
Well, it's probably related to the David thing, but to me, I think if you were waving the wand, it would be to try and get our injured secondary back. The sooner we can get back to full strength in that area, the better, because I think the LA game showed it up quite clearly, but the sooner we can stop other teams looking at that going, we can get all over that, then the better, because obviously that's going to be where they target.
You're right. I mean, you've got to remember, again, a bit like, you'd have taken the scoreline if you told you in advance. If you'd have said you get through the first quarter of the season, you've only lost to the Rams. Oh, but by the way, your entire starting secondary's out. You'd have taken it, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
So it does feel a bit like the Great Escape. It feels like they're rocking around the secondary with bits of soil coming out of the bottom of their uniform. Gary, where's your magic going to be?
Well, much the same, to be honest, but we're losing at the moment one player every game to injury, if you think about it. So my magic toothpick even, would be, please, can we get through a game without any significant injuries? You know, let's let all the players, all 47 of them, or however many there are in the matchday squad, please walk off the field at the end of the game smiling.
Does feel like increasingly does feel like a big ask in this modern game, doesn't it? And you wonder actually with the battle of attrition over a 17-game regular season, whether that's you know, we haven't seen, you know, well, let's fair to say we haven't seen many big names go down, but maybe that's from our perspective. I'm sure the Dolphins would have preferred Tua to have been paying us rather than Jacoby Brissett. So yeah, it's good. It's absolutely fair point. Obviously, we have our member views as well. It was another busy night on the forum. If you happen to be a member and you for some reason your head is in the sand, get yourselves over to BucsUK.org and click on the forum, where during the game there is the whole spectrum of chats from some people thought the sky was falling after the first quarter, others were in it for the long haul. But do join in and be part of the chat, and we've chosen a few of the comments to share with you. So first of all, we have our good friend Graham Reed. This is amazing offense by the Bucs! Exclamation mark. 262 yards receiving, split between 3 receivers. How can anyone defend against that? I think we've already made that point. Steve Gargett, cracking drive that. I think he was right. Everything looked to be working. And Adam, what a quality drive that was. Had a bit of everything. It really was a bit of a coaching clinic there. It was good to see. And then lastly, our good friend Wooly. One thing about our offense is the number of weapons available, and it's very easy just to get stuck looking at the receiver depth. But you know, Bray and OJ both proved that they had the ability to run and block, and we've already talked about the passing game. You know, Gio was getting involved as well, catching the ball out of the backfield. You know, I think one of you said pick your poison. It feels like a bit of a game of Cluedo. There's so much poison knocking around. It was really, really good stuff. And obviously, thanks to our good friends at Bucs Report for their support and promotion of our podcast. It's great to be part of their network. Do please head over and check them out as well. The description is in the link at the bottom. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Please do subscribe if you're not yet subscribed. We are so close to having 500 subscribers. I don't think YouTube sends us a plaque or anything at that point, but it'd be nice to something to crow about. So please do hit that subscribe button and hit the bell. And next we have this week's Wheel of Names. So this week it was the BucsUK's GOAT. Of course, I mean Dom Brady. That's right. Our good member Dominic Hodgkinson was kind enough to offer up some prizes for our members. All you had to do was just post on the forum thread saying anything, something about him, something about the game, something about what you had for lunch. And these are the people on the wheel. I answered a bit of criticism. I've made it on the wheel, so I was there, and we will see who will win Dom's prize Super Bowl fridge magnets coming towards someone. I wish you all luck. It's everyone's Portuguese pilot of choice. It's John Zinkus. Well done to you, sir. Well, luckily Dom works for the post office, because getting those out to Portugal is going to cost him an arm and a leg. And of course, if you haven't already done so, this week's prize competitions are up. There's the week prediction of the game. Gary, we've got our eliminator competition going strong. This is where you have to pick a team to win each week to stay in, don't you?
Indeed, yes. We started off with Niall in the 90s entries. We're down to 25. And by some miracle, of which I have no idea how it happened, all 25 that started last week got a prediction right. So all 25 go through to this week.
Which is fantastic.
What's even more amazing is I'm one of them.
And you're running the competition. Are you sure about this?
Colts.
Oh, wow. You picked the Colts. I wish you luck this week. And of course, the BucsUK GOAT, Dom Brady, has put yet another prize up for grabs. So again, head over into the forum, post on the thread, and you could be winning some wonderful player prints. And now then, we move on towards the next game. It's a very short week, so apologies if you're watching this podcast and it might have even been and gone. But this week it's Thursday night football, and we are over to Philadelphia. We're off to Lincoln Field, and I think this is going to be a tricky game. Scott, what do you think? What do you think the keys to this game are for the Bucs if they're going to walk away victorious?
Well, I think the difficulty with the Eagles kind of centers around Jalen Hurts. I think it's obviously the fact that he's able to get out of the pocket and causes trouble. I think as long as you can try and keep him contained and make him have to make those difficult throws, then I think that should be the biggest difficulty. I think it's really hard to make a case for any defense, let alone Philadelphia's, that we're able to stop what we're doing at the moment. So I would say if we can stop their offense, then eventually we'll just outscore them. And I think that is the main thing at the moment. I don't think the Eagles are doing too much right now outside of that makes it too difficult a game. I think if you can stop Hurts, then you'll stop them.
We say this every week, Marianna, but is this going to be the trap game for the Bucs?
There's a definite, like, we've never, as we well know, like, primetime games are not our favourites for some reason. We just have this tendency not to perform well on Thursday nights or the late Sunday nights or the Monday. Like, they're just not our games. I do worry on a short week. I mean, there's a little bit of concern about Brady's thumb. I don't think he practiced today, but I don't think that worries me too much because Brady somehow doesn't need to practice. He just kind of rocks up and does his job. But there's always that little bit of worry, you know, if he's got a bit of soreness in that thumb. Obviously, we're not going to get any of our other players back. It's highly unlikely that they're going to come back in that short week. So we're pretty much with the squad we've got, which, as Gary kind of pointed out, we're losing like a player a game. So there is a bit of a fear that, you know, is a game coming up that quickly for us, you know, gonna maybe cause another couple of injuries or something and knock another couple of players out, you know, forbidden. Like, I really don't want to like put the jinx on it, but that's, so there's always the possibility of the trap game. I just don't think the Eagles defense is just good enough. I think they kind of, their secondary makes our secondary look good. At the moment, even.
Well, we'll come on to talk about, you know, the players to watch, but as a sort of overall take, Gary, I mean, the Eagles, they obviously haven't lived up to their potential of late. It's almost incredible to think how recently they actually were Super Bowl champions. You know, Joe Flacco and Gardner Minshew rocking the bench. You know, it's a funny team, isn't it?
It's a very odd team. Yes. Purely for research purposes, I went back and watched the Eagles-Panthers game. And I mean, essentially, it came down to one play, and that was a block punt towards the end. Comedy moment of the year. If you ever want a good laugh, watch the safety that they scored. It's just one of the funniest things, with about 20 blokes all trying to dive on a ball that's hopping around everywhere. It's a thing of beauty.
One of those bar of soap moments.
Well, it absolutely was. But to be honest, against the Panthers, they looked nothing. They didn't look any great shakes at all. This was the game, the start of the season, I had us down to lose purely because of the short week. But there's nothing I saw against the Panthers that scares me. So,
and of course, it's a short week for both teams. You know, it works both ways. Yes, they haven't got to travel, I guess, but there are longer flights that the Bucs have to take than Philadelphia. So let's keep it crossed. So let's come on then to think about the players that matter most for the Bucs and the players that matter most for the Eagles. Scott, I think you've already mentioned Jalen Hurts, haven't you? Which is brilliant. I'm hoping it can't be the first time that anyone's cracked this joke, but let's hope the name's prophetic. And indeed, Jalen does hurt. But who else have we got to keep an eye on, do you think?
Well, I've always been an admirer of Fletcher Cox. I think he's just an outstanding player, and I think that he's a player that can just take over a game sometimes. So I'd probably look at him. But I think it's one of they're one of those teams where they've got players that can hurt you, but it feels like it's been a long time since you've seen that happen. But obviously that can change very quickly. It just depends what happens on the day. But I think generally at the moment, I find it hard to make a case for Philly. But I know that's dangerous territory.
Now, Fletcher Cox, obviously, he plays on the line, and we were very praiseworthy of the line this week. And I think one of my things that I set the test last week was for Donovan Smith to step up, because I knew he was going to be under pressure. And I'm not quite sure exactly how the splits, but I think some of the plays he'll be lined up opposite Cox. So how hard do you think it's going to be for our O-line this week?
I think probably you feel like if it's only the one kind of player where at the moment I feel like they've got to worry about. I just think we've got too many good guys on the line. As I said earlier, the fact we've got them all fit and healthy, just such a good unit at the moment that I don't see it being too much of a problem. And I've got confidence that they'll give Brady enough time to just pick his place.
And Marianna, who are the names on the roster that are striking fear in your heart at the moment?
I think we've named them in Jalen Hurts. I mean, he's the key player. I think Devonta Smith, the wide receiver, the young rookie. I think he's got an ability to break out. I've just not seen it yet. Which is a shame because he's on one of my fantasy teams. That's just only one of the reasons. But other than that, I'm struggling, to be honest.
I mean, I think you're right, because obviously Jalen Hurts has to throw it to someone in order to be successful. We know that people think the knock on the Bucs is pass it, hit the secondary, and so actually at tight end they've got Zach Ertz, and he's, and you talk about fantasy football. In years gone by, he's always been someone that I've sought to nab in the middle rounds of a fancy draft. It kind of feels like maybe he might be the wrong side of the hill now. Or...
There's talk of him. There's talk of them looking to trade him, I think, as well before the deadline. So obviously, I think, as you say, it's like maybe Zach Ertz has had his day, and maybe that's somewhere that's not quite as you say in terms of a fantasy production. He was one of those tight ends that you could pretty much count on to get that sort of decent score. He was definitely one of the sort of solid outputs, but at the moment I think they're really struggling, and also they can't seem to stop the run either. They've let a banged up Carolina run, I think, over 100 yards on them, so they're not exactly stopping the run either. So
yeah, anytime Carolina run and it's not McCaffrey and it's working, you're doing something wrong, don't you?
It's hard to believe that this was the team that won the Super Bowl so recently, and I would have said probably all the Super Bowls that the Patriots had, that was the one I was most confident about them winning. So you have to remember there's some players there with some big game experience, but at the moment it just seems so far away from that.
You're absolutely right, Scott. It's almost like a model of how not to do it. I don't know if we can bottle it or write it down or something to learn the lesson, but it is astonishing. I mean, Gary, from the Bucs side of then, obviously I've mentioned Donovan Smith, but who else do you think needs to be on watch?
For the Bucs, well, my Buccaneer player to watch is Antonio Brown. I don't know if you've noticed, but Brady goes to Mike Evans very early in every game. Last couple of games, it was first pass. What that does, of course, is the opposition then think we're going to target Mike Evans all the time, opens up the field for Godwin and Brown. And Brown really went off on one this past game. I mean, who knew he could run that fast? He never drops a pass. So he is very much my player to watch from the Buccaneer side.
And there was a couple of times on the replays during the game, and I did look a little bit at the all-22, and that's not normally my thing. But there did seem a lot of times that actually Brady, although he's not looking, he's mature enough now. He doesn't look to Brown if he's going to go to Brown. He'll look someone off, then he'll go to Brown. But there were times where it felt like he was targeting Brown, but actually maybe someone else on the field was open. I think Godwin a couple of times looked to be wide open, but he was definitely wanted to dial up Brown.
Yeah, that's very true, but it's true of every quarterback. Everybody does it. I mean, my friend up here, he was probably still is the world's worst. Just eyes lock in and away you go. But Brady's got that ability to scan the field very quickly, gets the ball out very quickly. And Brown particularly is so good. I mean, the touchdown he caught in the end zone, the ball was actually behind him. He caught it to his side. Wasn't where it should have been, right in front of him, and he still caught it. So yes, he does lock in, but if you're going to lock into anybody, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown and Mike Evans, they're the guys to lock into, aren't they?
So you can almost guarantee as well, with the way that we've been playing, that probably it'll be Godwin that will have the monster day, because it just seems to be, one after the other, sort of in rotation almost. So, the Eagles have seen us play on Sunday. They've seen Brown and Evans, get the yardage. And we like to use Godwin in that sort of role coming out of the backfield as well. So he does those sort of little jet sweep runs and things like that. So you just suddenly see that maybe it's Godwin that's going to have the monster day this weekend, on Thursday night instead. It'll just leap around. It'll be someone else that'll have that monster day.
You're not helping everyone with their fantasy teams, Marianna. Come on, tell us who to start.
I want to, who I really want to see, and he kind of he did some good work very quietly this week, and I really want to see him actually catch a few more passes. Was OJ Howard, because he's been a bit of an unfortunate lad with sort of injuries and not really getting time to play, especially after Gronk sort of came in. It kind of pushed him a bit further down the depth chart. So it was kind of actually good to see him on the field. And I think he caught one pass, maybe two.
He was out there. He was definitely
but
playing.
He was blocking. He was blocking a lot.
Yeah.
So he was out there. He was getting snaps. Now what I'd like to see is him, maybe have that surprise day while Gronk's out, have that surprise day that, shows off the talent that we've always hoped that he would be from 5 years ago now.
I don't know. He's good. I kind of personally feel I've given up on him a little bit. My Buccaneer to watch was going to be Cam Brate, so it's kind of the same sentiment, but just the different player as a focus. Cam Brate of years gone by was a devious red zone threat. You never necessarily expect him to stretch the field, but with Evans and Godwin and Brown and Tyler Johnson all stretching the field, all going long, all out wide, it feels like the middle of the field could be somewhere that we ought to try and expose. So let's be charitable. Either OJ or Brate, someone get open in the middle.
I think it'd be great to see one of those tight ends of a big game, because it feels like, I think you're right about Howard, but it feels like one you want to root for. I think if we go back to when the Bucs were in hard knocks, and it was like he seemed like such a character in the squad, and it seemed like you wanted him to do well. I think also Brate is like, the commentary said it, I think during the game, that something like top 5 for touchdown passes all. It was like that. If Evans hadn't be there, they reckon he would maybe be the one to get, which seems amazing really when you think about it. But it just shows, how solid he's been for us. So I think it'd be great to see him do well too.
And so Scott, final word before we come on to our predicted scores. Then, who is the Bucs' most important player going to be, and how do you see it going?
Well, I mean, I would say at the moment my favourite player is Devin White, and I think it feels like he's due one of those monster games. So I think this one might be that one for when we'll see it come out. But there's just so many star players at the moment. But I feel like we're talking about the offense a lot, and the defense is a bit of a hammering, relatively. So I think it'd be great if we saw one of them come out in a really big game.
And then money where your mouth is time, Scott. What's the scoreboard going to be as it ticks to 0?
I'm confident with this one. I would say maybe 35, 18, something like that.
Ooh, that's very close to my prediction. I'll come back to mine. Gary, what do you reckon?
We've already said we know we're going to score points. We could score points on any defense. I'm a bit concerned about Jalen Hurts, I've got to be honest, not his ability to throw the ball. Half time in the game last Sunday, he was 17 of 23 for 93 yards. So he's all dink and dunk, throwing stuff out the sidelines. All his he only completed one really long pass. I'm more concerned about him running because he's very much a running quarterback, certainly was in college. As long as we bottle him up, my score prediction, 31-24 to the Bucs.
Oh, a much closer affair then. Okay, that's interesting. Marianna?
I'm kind of a bit more optimistic than Gary. I think we'll stop Jalen Hurts. I think we've proven against probably the sort of the guy that's really the key sort of king of being scramblers in terms of Mahomes, that we can beat these scrambling quarterbacks. So I think we'll stop Hurts from doing any damage. So I'm going to predict something like a 31-13, maybe. Maybe they get a couple of field goals. Maybe Jalen Hurts does a couple of nice runs or something, gets some yardage, gets them in field goal range. But I don't see him scoring the touchdowns on us.
Okay, that's interesting.
Kieron, my prediction, I did it this afternoon before reading the news that Dallas Goedert is going to be out. So looking at Zach Ertz earlier, he might well come in. But Goddard has been very much the go-to tight end there. So, yeah, I said 31-24. I'd hope that losing one of his main weapons in the middle of the field might mean that they don't actually get to 24.
Oh, let's hope so. So I think this has shades of last season's Detroit game. I'm hoping that we can get up early to silence the crowd, settle into a rhythm. I massively believe in things like form and morale and all the intangibles. And I think at the moment we're on the way up. Our stock is rising. So I think it's going to be something like 35-3. I can see actually, some of the points, and maybe Scott's score might come true, but actually it'll be because Brady's been benched after the first half. It was really nice to see Brady come out of the last game. I hope he doesn't get to 50 touchdowns because he's not on the field enough to get to 50 touchdowns. That's why I want that arm to be postseason ready. So that's my call.
Yeah, and obviously Gabbert did so well when he came in, so I think it would be exciting to see a bit more of that. I was so disappointed when they started kneeling so close to the end zone. It just seemed like a great opportunity there. So that was a bit of a shame.
It's true. The forum was screaming for a 50 burger, weren't they? Brilliant. Okay, well, let's see if we're right. If you disagree, let us know in the comments. Otherwise, come back next time and tell us how right you were. But thank you for watching. We're always great to share it, whether you're a Bucs fan in the UK, a Bucs fan stateside, or somewhere across the continent. And certainly if you're in Germany, we're looking forward to coming and seeing you soon by the sounds of it. So make sure you let us know, because NFL fans descending to Germany in October, what could possibly go wrong? I think we're all looking forward to that. So thank you, Gary, Marianna, and Scott.
Thank you.
Thanks
and thank you for watching again, and go Bucs.